Michael here, looking at Psalms 104 for our devotion today. A psalm which may be subtitled, O Lord my God, you are very great. And today we're focusing on verse 3 and 4 for the exposition. Let's go ahead and read the first 4 verses. Verse 1. Bless the Lord, O my soul. O Lord my God, thou art very great. Thou art clothed with honor and majesty. Who covereth thyself with light as with a garment, who stretcheth out the heavens like a curtain. Verse 3. Who layeth the beams of his chambers in the waters, who maketh the clouds his chariot, who walketh upon the wings of the wind. Verse 4. Who maketh his angel spirits, his ministers, a flaming fire. And as we turn to the treasure of David for the exposition, let's go ahead and read verse 3 again. Who layeth the beams of his chamber in the waters, who maketh the clouds his chariots, who walketh upon the winds of the wind. Spurgeon exposits. Who layeth the beams of his chamber in the waters? His lofty halls are framed at the waters which are above the firmament. The upper rooms of God's great house, the secret stories far above our ken, the palatial chambers wherein he resides, are based upon the floods which form the upper ocean. To the unsubstantial he lends stability. He needs no joist and rafters, for his palace is sustained by his own power. We are not to interpret literally where the language is poetical. It would be simple absurdity to do so. Who maketh the clouds his chariot? When he comes forth from his secret pavilion, it is thus he makes his royal progress. In his chariot of wrath deep thunder clouds form, and his chariot of mercy drops plenty as it traverses the celestial road. Who walketh or rather goes upon the wings of the wind, with the clouds for a car, and the winds for winged steeds. The great King hastens on his movements, whether for mercy or for judgment. Thus we have the idea of a king still further elaborated. His lofty palace, his chariot, and his coursers are before us. But what a palace must we imagine, whose beams are of crystal, and whose base is consolidated vapor. What a stately car is that which is fashioned out of the flying clouds, whose gorgeous colors Solomon in all his glory could not rival. And what a godlike progress is that in which spirit wings and breath of wings bear up the moving throne. O Lord my God, thou art very great. And verse 4 that reads, Who maketh his angels spirits, his ministers a flaming fire. Spurgeon exposits. Who maketh his angels spirits, or wheels, for the word means either. Angels are pure spirits, though they are permitted to assume a visible form when God desires us to see them. God is a spirit, and he is waited upon by spirits in his royal courts. Angels are like winds for mastery, force, and invisibility, and no doubt the winds themselves are often the angels or messengers of God. God, who makes his angels to be his winds, can also make winds to be his angels, and they are constantly so in economy of nature. His ministers a flaming fire. Here too we may choose which we will of two meanings. God's ministers are servants he makes to be as swift, potent, and terrible as fire, and on the other hand he makes fire, that devouring element, to be his minister, flaming forth upon his errands. Thus the passage refers to angels is clear from Hebrews 1:7, and 'twas most proper to mention them here in connection with light and the heavens, and immediately after the robes and palm tree of the great King. Should not the retinue of the Lord of hosts be mentioned, as well as his chariot. It would have been a flaw in the description of the universe had the angels not been alluded to, and this is the most appropriate place for their introduction. When we think of the extraordinary powers entrusted to angelic beings, and the mysterious glory of the seraphims and the four living creatures, we are led to reflect upon the glory of the Master whom they serve. And again we cry out with the psalmist, O Lord my God, thou art very great. We trust you enjoyed the meditation, the exposition on Psalms 104, verse 3 and 4. Michael here declaring yet again, Jesus is Lord. Until next time, be blessed.